Well, welcome everyone. Welcome those people that came in just recently. I'm Allie Benjamin and I'm the director here, and I welcome you. It's September and we've got a whole new series of talks prepared for you. Last week I wasn't here. I was away at the Big Sky Retreat, and so you had a guest. You had Reverend Myrna Hurst, who talked to you about the wonderful story of Arjuna and some of the traditions and the wisdoms from Hinduism. And so I just thank Reverend Myrna, who was here last week and heard Myrna's talk. How did you enjoy that? Was it good? Yeah, good. Awesome. Well, meanwhile, I was away, and I was at the Big Sky Retreat, which is an awesome retreat. It is the longest running metaphysical retreat. It's been going on for 42 years. And it started in the Tetons National Park, and then it grew and it moved to Big Sky, Montana. And so there was 253 of us, I believe. Is that right, Lindy? There were several of us here. Could you just stand up if you came to the Big Sky Retreat? Put you on the spot here. Okay, so it was was it not amazing?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Very special.
There were 10 of us there from this center, and I was really thrilled to be representing the leading edge thinkers of Ogden in Big Sky, Montana. It was fabulous to have that many of us there. A couple of big things happened for me while we were there. I was invited to be on the board of directors, so I accepted that, and this is a lifelong term. Not meaning you have to stay on there for your whole life, but it is that. And so I'm really humbled and very excited to be working with that group of awakened individuals and to gain some leadership skills myself. Yes. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. Thank you. I'll be sharing throughout the next months some of the wisdom that I received from that. But just to give you a little taste, we had some amazing authors that were present and gave lectures and talks. This one by Dr. Joan Rosenberg. She's a psychologist that teaches at Pepperdine in UCLA. She gave an incredible workshop on examining your life stories and easing anxiety. This Living from the Mountaintop, this is Christian Sorensen. He's Dr. Christian Sorensen. He's a leader in New Thought and has a big spiritual center in Encinitas, California. And he talked about something about awakening to your inner mystic or something like that. Very enthusiastic, wasn't he, Pam? Very full of energy.
He was a surfer on stage surfing.
He was definitely surfing all over the stage. And then we had Dr. Joan Borisenko, which she is an MD and a pioneer in the body-mind connection, a Harvard doctor, and then moved into studying consciousness and has actually been with a lot of the world leaders, in particularly the Dalai Lama, to have conversations with him about religion, spirituality, and science. So if you're interested in joining us next year, I know that most of the people that went this year already paid and signed up for next year. All of us. So that's just a testimonial to the impact that we experienced. Before I get started on my talk today, which is Feeding the Soul, I want to just take a moment to honor a member of our community. And many of you know Katrina Peterson. Her little grandson made his transition yesterday. And so I just wanted to bring that to your awareness. And just maybe let's take a moment just to wish her well and send their family love and send sweet Ray on his way. Thank you. And it's Raven, not Raven. Raven. Okay. So, my focus today is every August we take time to explore some of the faith traditions around the world. And for years we did a candle lighting ceremony at the beginning of our service called the Flames of Faith, where we honored 10 different faith traditions. And we moved away from doing that ceremony, and we've transitioned to doing a shorter one. But anyway, we're very interested here in how the different paths, how the different faiths, how the different traditions have led us as a human family to the place we are now. And so today I thought I would explore New Thought, which is the tradition that we are a part of, the New Thought movement. And so I haven't talked about this before much over the 8 years that we've been meeting together. So I thought I'd give you a little background in what New Thought is, and so that you can have a greater understanding not only of what we teach here, but how the different faith traditions have been brought together to be presented in a form of spirituality and faith-based community that meets the needs of everyday people today in this particular time in history. So New Thought has been around forever, but it's not really new. It's very old. It's really an ancient concept. It's really about remembering what we already know at the very deepest level of our being, what we're waking up to. And it's all about our thoughts creating our life, of being one with God and tuning into the presence that is everywhere. So it's not so much about a particular guy in the sky. It's about an indwelling presence, a God that exists within, not only within human beings, but within everything. It's about everything being the full expression of the divine, that the physical universe is the body of what we call God or spirit or divine intelligence, and that there's 3 aspects to this. There's the body, there's the mind or the intelligence, and then there's spirit, the ineffable, this spark, this urge to live its life. So all New Thought communities have this understanding. And not everyone believes in exactly the same idea of God or the divine, but there's a knowing that it's not in some distant place, but it's closer than close. As it said in the Bible, it's closer than your vein, it's closer than hands and feet, closer than your breath. New Thought isn't just about sitting around and thinking, it's about the power of our mind, the power of our hearts, and it's about spirituality and being one with the divine and raising our thoughts from the human egocentric consciousness to divine consciousness. Again, you'll hear the words awakening a lot, awakening to what we already know at the deepest level of our being, a deep up-leveling or awareness that we're not just the mind, we're not just that ego state, we're not just the thinking mind, we're that which has a mind. We're not just our body, but we're that which has a physical body. In that expanded awareness is a new intuition. We develop a sense of being more in tune to the world we live in, of being open and receptive to find that still small voice within, or that inner guidance. So there's a very strong emphasis on tuning in to what you already know at the deepest level of your being. New Thought is also about new insights, about thinking new thoughts. Dr. Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of Science of Mind, which we're a part of, one of his mottos was to be open at the top. So this isn't a philosophy of faith, a tradition, a religion that exists inside a box, that you just learn you read this particular book and learn these particular rules, and then you understand. There's a sense of we're always becoming more, we're always learning, we're always growing, we're always discovering. So it isn't a static thing, it's an evolution. It's an unfolding in consciousness. New thought communities are ones that give and serve and encourage and support people in becoming the best that they can be. It's about being a person of love and harmony and peace and support. And New Thought communities believe in the goodness of humanity. So you won't often see New Thought communities being activists. There are some more progressive Christian movements that are very active, take politically, and New Thought communities in general aren't. That's not to say there aren't some that are, but in general we're very loving and accepting of people's individuals' paths, but don't take any rigid position on anything, because we live in a universe of polarity. And so we embrace all things, light and dark, and then find our way to our hearts through that experience of contrast and polarity. There are amazing souls on this planet that carry this light, this New Thought message, and you may be aware of some of them. You've probably had a look at our bookshop table. And if you go to our center in the carriage house, you see we have a very wide selection of New Thought, self-improvement, spiritually based books. So you might think of Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Oprah Winfrey, Marianne Williamson, I'd even venture Thich Nhat Hanh, and other monks and teachers, spiritual teachers, as being those that carry a New Thought message. New Thought isn't New Thought, it's really a combination of ancient teachings, ancient mystical teachings, and universal spiritual principles. So it's a real blending of spirituality and science. You might hear in New Thought communities people talking about quantum physics, about epigenetics, and the mind-body connection. And so it is really a leading edge movement in that regard. In New Thought, we know that we're made in the image and likeness of God. So what does that say about us? It says in the Bible that we're made in the image and likeness of God. But that gives us a sense that God is human, that somehow it is made in our image and likeness. Well, in New Thought, the image and likeness of God is the fact that we have the creative power that God does, to use our thoughts and our words and our actions to create change in the world. Because that is what God is. It is creative, it's intelligent. So we are creative, intelligent, we have imaginations, and we're highly intuitive. So that is really nurtured and supported in all that we do here at the Satya Center, through the classes we teach, through the meditations we offer, through our services here on Sunday. We're really encouraging people to wake up to be the most powerful point in their universe. And we also really encourage service, or seva. It's a Hindu or Sanskrit word that means sacred service. Because what I know is it's through service, through serving humanity, through serving oneness, that we're most awakened to our role as a human being on this planet, why we're here, to be the hands of God serving, the mind of God knowing, and the heart of God loving. And we do this by embracing each other, accepting each other, and serving each other, and knowing that we live in a reciprocal universe where like attracts like. We seem to then gravitate towards those that are of like mind and want to support and serve each other. So it's no surprise that you're in this room, because you're probably a very loving, giving, creative person that wants to serve humanity, uplift humanity, and want to usher in an age of peace. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, good. I thought so. So what is New Thought? It's a wonderful and rich tradition that extends back in time to the earliest written text, universal spiritual principles and truths and ancient wisdom, which we find in Hermes, Plato, Greek mythology, Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sufism, the teachings of Jesus, primal spirituality. It's a real conglomeration of the wisdom of the ages. And I love that. I love that about these teachings because it gives me freedom and space to learn and grow and study whatever it is I want, because I know, and I've read quite a bit, that I can find spiritual truth in just about anything, in anything. And there's these threads of spiritual truth throughout all the traditions. And I love that we can explore that together, have real conversations about that together, and to bring it, to make it practical so that we can bring those teachings and that awareness and that understanding into our everyday lives. New Thought got going here in America in the 20th century when the Transcendentalists merged with the Mind Cure movement and progressive Christianity. And these three gave birth to the New Thought movement. So again, I'm going to point those out. The Transcendentalists, those are people like Emerson and Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, and all of those juicy conversations that were being held in Concord, Massachusetts by these individuals that wanted to understand the existential nature of the universe. And so these deep thinkers got together with other like-minded people, and things started to, there was a revolution in consciousness that occurred. And so in progressive Christianity, were a lot of Christian movements that wanted to lean more on mysticism. And so these three parts came together as one, and this gave birth to New Thought. And today, New Thought is unity, where it includes these different churches, movements, and spiritual centers. And notice, a lot of them don't like to use the word church anymore. It's kind of a word that many spiritual communities like ours have sort of evolved out of or grown out of for one reason or another. So there's the unity movement, the science of minds movement, the centers for spiritual living, divine science, religious science, and then the affiliated New Thought Network, which is who we as a community are affiliated with. In the 19th century, there began a revolution of consciousness, and people began to be more conscious of the subconscious mind, of the power of their thoughts upon themselves, their environment, and the world. And so a lot of what we do and teach here is about understanding the power of the subconscious mind. And that might be a new term to you. If it is, come jump in and take a class with us. We'd like to explore what that means for you and how you can understand that you understanding what the subconscious mind is will affect everything you experience, everything you create in the world today. So there's a timeline for this New Thought movement. So the Transcendentalists were in the late 1800s, and like I said, that's Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, and many other leaders. Even some of our politicians at the time were involved in this Transcendentalist movement. Emerson said, "What lies behind us and what lies before us, these are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." And so there was a great emphasis on really understanding who you are as an individual. The father of New Thought was a man by the name of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. That's quite a name, isn't it? Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. We don't see many Phineases around anymore. So this guy was very curious, and he was a seeker of truth. And he studied a man by the name of Anton Mesmer. And this Anton Mesmer was somebody that traveled around Europe lecturing And he's the one that the word mesmerism came from. And so he would study this mesmerism and helped people to move into states of consciousness. Why? So that they could heal themselves. So mesmerism is where this came from. So Phineas studied from Anton Mesmer, and he realized the power of the mind in healing. And he healed himself of tuberculosis. And at the time, tuberculosis was really a death sentence. So a lot of what we stand on here and stand for is healing. And so you hear us doing these healing prayers. You heard Dr. Pam give what we call a spiritual mind treatment at the beginning, and you'll hear me do one at the end. This is a 5-step scientific prayer, and it's a way of activating an awareness within yourself of the truth of your being, which is you are whole, complete, and perfect. And the manifestation of illness is said to be contributed to a misalignment of your energies inside yourself. And so he studied with Mesmer, and he healed himself. He also studied the teachings of Jesus. And in that, especially, he studied Jesus's healing techniques. And Jesus says in the Bible, greater things ye shall do. And so it was his belief, and it's my belief, that the teachings of Jesus are really teachings for us to understand our innate power to heal ourselves and help heal our lives and help other people with this too. So here at the Satya Center, we not only practice this, but we teach this. We teach individuals to become practitioners, and that's what my husband Michael was referring to. He's a student here. And by the way, he's about to graduate at the end of this month with his practitioner credential. And that is a 4-year training. And our graduation will be at Unity Village in Missouri in October. And you're all invited to that too, if you'd like to. One thing that Phineas really, he went on the road kind of thing, and he gave talks all over the country, especially in the East. And he would, the thing that really got his movement going was he would make flyers, and on the flyers he would put free talk. And so lots of people came because it was sort of this time where everyone was hungry for information. So what he really was offering in these free talks was the fact that the explanation is the cure. So what does that mean? What he wanted us, or the people of the time, to understand was this awareness of how powerful you are and how powerful your thinking is, and what you focus on expands. That explanation of who you are and how powerful you are is your cure. So it's not some magical cure that comes from a particular prayer. It's you understanding who you are and how powerful you are. And once you tap into that awareness, what's unleashed are the attributes of the divine. Peace, grace, wisdom, wholeness, love, creativity, forgiveness, abundance, prosperity. That is what is available to us as we let go of all these lower, more disempowering thoughts, criticism, doubt, fear, worry, concern, confusion, anger, hate, sadness. And those things, if you stay focused on the positive and your power and the light and the truth of your being, seem to just naturally dissolve, and it's no longer in your awareness. You may have heard me say before, what you think about comes about. Energy flows where your attention goes. So as we start to have a more positive mindset, as we start to be in service of humanity, as we start to explore our nature, get in tune with who we are and what brings us joy, and find our own purpose, we find ourselves lifted up into a place where we feel like we're on top of a mountaintop. We feel like we're on top of the world. We feel so good because we're in our natural state. We're in alignment. We're awakened to who we really are. And then those things, the sadness and this and that, yeah, they come and go. Life continues, things still keep happening, but we're better equipped to handle it, and we don't stay in alignment with it for long once we're there. We remember that we have a power within us. We have an incredible mind. We have the ability to use our imagination and focus on what it is that we want. And as we stay in that vibe, as we stay in that vibration, as we continue to activate these faculties, then we begin to experience a greater sense of who we truly are as the God Self. Who we truly are as the God Self. So, there were several individuals that studied under Phineas Quimby, and they were Mary Baker Eddy. It's the interrelatedness of all life. And so when somebody is awake, when someone truly wakes up to these truths, these universal truths, what you'll see is that people come. People come to learn from those individuals because they want that. There's something that they can sense about that person that's going to help them move along on their own spiritual path. She was one of these people, these individuals. And so she became known as the teacher of teachers. And her students included Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, and they founded the Unity Movement. It's a huge metaphysical New Thought movement. Melinda Kramer and Nona Brooks, who founded another movement called Divine Science. And then Ernest Holmes, who founded Religious Science and the Science of Mind, who was my teacher. And many, many other teachers and authors did she help. And so that's sort of a little brief history of the timeline of how this New Thought movement got up and manifest fully as a religion. Many of these movements never really intended to become religions. They intended to be teaching centers, but because of the time and because of what people wanted, they were moving from very traditional Christian churches, and they wanted to still have that Sunday thing, that churchy thing. And so a lot of these movements just naturally sort of evolved into churches, but I call them sort of the unchurched, churchy churches. And so even though we are officially a non-profit and a 501c3 organization, a church, so you may not hear us refer to ourselves as a church. New Thought denominations and centers began forming in the early 1900s and continue today around the world. So, we're right at the end. So I wanted to just give you some of the things that we teach here at the Satya Center and at all of the New Thought churches and centers. The basic premise is oneness. That there's only one life, and this life is God's life, and this life is perfect, and this life is your life, my life now. And basically that is the core premise of these teachings. Also that we, individuals, are centers for the divine intelligence to express through. So you might hear it said that we are individual centers expressing the beauty, the love, the intelligence of God. I love hearing that, and I love looking at you and knowing that, because each of us have something most magnificent and unique and special to express. So each of us are a unique center for divine intelligence to flow. And the only reason you might not be experiencing that is because you maybe weren't aware of it, or you haven't been nurturing and cultivating that. So New Thought communities encourage meditation. Big emphasis on meditation, of getting still so that you can find that still small voice within and tune in to the divine that's everywhere present. The circumference is nowhere and the center is everywhere. Another teaching that you might hear is that thoughts become things that we can manifest. that we can use our incredible mind to think about the things that we want, that we can actually use our imagination to envision a life that we would love to live. And then once we do that, the fun thing is that the vision then pulls us towards it. And then we become aware, okay, if I have this vision of this life where I'm really enjoying myself, this life where I'm abundant and free, this life where I have deep, rich, meaningful relationships, this life where I'm creative and doing what I love to do, this life that I feel great joy because I get to explore nature and do whatever I want to do. And you start to envision that life that you want to live. The wonderful thing about that is a vision holds within it everything that is required for us to take those human footsteps towards it. So once we activate this, harness this incredible imagination that we have, we then find that the wisdom for us to get there is already there within it. So you hear me say the prayer and the answer are one. Because once we speak something, once we know something, whatever that thing might be that you're praying for, that you're coming into alignment with, once you've identified it, the answer's already within you, and the universe will present to you the steps, the path on which to get there. So that's just a little brief little overview of New Thought, and I'd love you if you have questions to come ask me, come sit in a class, come to the Wednesday Sangha with Greg and Michael and me, and have a true experience of what it feels to tune into your oneness and your depth and your beauty and your bliss. Namaste. Thank you. Namaste. And I feel like clapping, so let's go. I love the energy of like ritual, this clapping ritual that we do, because for me it's like I'm saying yes, I get that, yes, I accept that, and I'm appreciative. And what I know about gratitude is one of the most magnetic energies in the universe, and what we're grateful when we're in that attitude and that vibration of thanksgiving, you just see the universe presents to you everything, that all kinds of things, all manner of things for you to be grateful for. So let's go into prayer. And remember, this is scientific prayer, spiritual mind treatment, a 5-step process. You won't hear all the 5 steps because I merged them all in one, but here you go. This is really an activation of consciousness. So practitioners, stand up and hold the space with me, please. So as I tune within right now, I touch that space within me that is dimensionless, that is timeless, that exists everywhere, all at once, beyond time and space. And as I tune in to the depth of love that I feel right here and now. So join me in this feeling of love and oneness, connectivity. Join me in this place of knowing that there is only one life. This life is the life of spirit. It's my life, it's our life. It's perfect and it's precious and it's sacred. And as I remember who I am, as I become aware and wake up to my co-creative abilities, I understand that my thoughts and my words have power. So I speak my word now into the activity of the law, into the universal mind, into the divine intelligence, knowing that the law, the universe, takes the very impress of my thought, and then the universe then reorganizes itself to become what I'm asking, what I'm seeking. So what I know and accept for each of us here is that we wake up to who we truly are today. That we take a step more deeply into that close walk with the divine. Knowing that we are God in disguise as human beings. That the love that we are shines brightly through our eyes. That the love that we serve is made evidence through our hands. And the love that we receive is received graciously in our hearts and in our bodies. I accept for each of us health and vitality and strength, power and creativity and passion and innovation and purpose. I know and accept for each of us as we stand up into our true, authentic expression, that we simply allow the old false forms of fear and distrust and disillusionment and sadness, all of that stuff to just dissolve into the nothingness from whence it came. And as it does, let's just breathe in peace, and exhale, release. Inhale, love. And exhale, love. Breathe in thanksgiving. And exhale, thanksgiving. So I accept and know for each of us, whatever we're seeking to release is released with gratitude. Whatever we're seeking to embrace and activate is done so with curiosity and joy. And whatever is seeking to be expressed through us is done so with love. And so it is. So it is. Amen. Thank you. All right, so we have a blessing in our program, and we are a center that exists because of your generosity. And so we do an offering, take an offering at the end of each of our services. And then 10% of whatever we bring in, we send back out into the community to support those that have spiritually fed us. We do also give to need, to charities, but that's not what we tithe on. A tithe is 10% given back to where we're spiritually fed. So we are a tithing community, and we tithe back out in your name, and thank you for that. So please join me in saying, joyfully, I give with gratitude, for I know that as I give, I am given. I allow the abundant nature of the universe to flow through me now. I am so blessed.